Hello everyone, welcome to this week's GT Sport Daily Race C Strategy Guide, where we're taking Group 3 machinery down under to visit Mount Panorama, better known as Bathurst. So let's take a look at the settings for this one. It's been about 6 months since we last did this combination in Daily Race C. Not that different to last time. It's 9 laps, it's fuel consumption at times 2 and tyre wear at times 6, and we only have the racing hard tyre available, so no mandatory tyre for this one. Last time the fuel consumption was at times 3 and tyre wear was at times 7. So the circuit we are visiting is the world famous Mount Panorama motor racing circuit in Australia. Best known for the mountain section, up, over and particularly down the mountain. Very tricky piece of racetrack. One of the hardest pieces of racetrack in the world, I think would probably be fair to say. I'm not a big fan of coming down the mountain. Far too many scrapes with the barriers. Don't think I'm alone in saying that. In terms of cars, it's hard to see the Aston Martin V12 Vantage not being the car of choice. We're going to use the Viper SRT, which I think will be pretty strong as well. Last time we did this race, it was the Nissan GTR that was the favoured car, but it's obviously had a bit of a decrease in power, and the Aston Martin has taken over its mantle as the car of choice when it comes to power circuits. I would avoid using an MR car because they're just very sketchy coming down the mountain. So moving on to some race action footage here. Before we sort of delve into the strategies, word of warning, the first couple of corners with these hard tyres are very tricky. You'll have to brake maybe 10-15 metres earlier than they normally would. Very easy to get caught out. Obviously the hard tyres have got the sort of longest time to sort of get up to temperature, usually around about half a lap at most circuits, so yeah, just a word of caution going into the first couple of corners. So let's move on to those strategies. This first strategy we're going to look at is the no-stop strategy. Tyre wear fairly low, we're on the hard tyres. Mount Panorama is a bit of a tyre chewer, but those settings are pretty low. So we're going to just jump all the way to the halfway point. You can see the tyres are not really presenting too much of an issue in terms of wear. In terms of fuel, we've got that up on the screen there. Fuel's not going to present any issue either. That will come as no surprise, it's only at times 2. So in terms of strategy, this one is looking fairly simple. Last time out with the settings, the fuel at times 3, the tyre wear at times 7. Also on the hard tyre, it was easily a no-stop strategy. So jumping to the last lap here, you can see we're setting purple sectors as we come into the downhill section. It just kind of reiterates that the tyre wear is not presenting any real issues. My rear tyres are a little bit worn here, basically because I had the brake balance set incorrectly. I had the brake balance set at -1. I think to kind of even out that tyre wear, I would have it at -2, maybe even -3 in the Dodge Viper. Despite that, we are on course here for a fastest lap of the race on the last lap, which will just confirm how much of an issue or how much of a non-issue the tyre wear is in this one. Now before we find that out, if you like what I'm doing on the channel, please hit that like button, please hit that subscribe button. If you've been keeping track of my videos, you'll know we're getting fairly close to that 1k subscriber mark, so if you can be very kind of give me a subscribe if you've not already done so, help me get to that benchmark or that milestone, it would be very much appreciated. However, out the last corner we've now came, we're going to cross the finish line here. Will we set the fastest lap on the last lap? Yes we do. Probably more than anything to do with the fact that I didn't really push it a whole lot over the first 8 laps. But there's the finishing time popping up, 18 minutes 45, so certainly not the longest daily race C in the world. But yeah, generally the kind of sort of length we get these days. Now if you're interested in what the pit loss is for this one, we'll just show you a quick pit stop sequence. It is a very quick pit stop. I remember from last time it being very short. You obviously miss out the last corner of the lap that you pit on and the first corner on your out lap. When it's all said and done, the pit loss comes in at around about 4.1 seconds. Now that does sound very short, and you might sort of think it's kind of possible to make a pit stop with that, but you could see from my test run that I was still able to kind of lap very strong even on the worn tyres. The only way I would maybe consider doing a pit stop is if you've obviously got that gap to make it, you're really struggling to get the overtakes done and you just want to try something different. But don't ever make a pit stop if it means giving up track position, because it's not an easy track to pass on, despite the fact you've got a couple of long straights to kind of work with. So I've just put a quick recap up on the screen, pretty much what we've been talking about throughout the course of the video. I am aware there's a few folk out there, or probably more than a few folk, who have a little bit of trouble understanding my accent, which is absolutely fair enough. The Scottish accent is not the most easy to decipher if you're not a natural English speaker. I'm pretty sure quite a lot of natural English speakers would also say the Scottish accent's hard to understand, but that's just by the reason we've got a quick recap on the screen. So a fairly simple race this one, just a sort of 19-minute sprint I guess. After last week's race with the strategy and that, I guess it's fair game to have something that's more suited just to the sprint crowd. Not my cup of tea. Every time we go to Bathurst it's always a non-stop as far as I can tell, so it'd be good if they would maybe mix it up just a little bit. Anyway, let's move on to the lap guide at the end of the video. This is going to be lap 9 from the test run we've done, so the tyres are pretty worn as we go into this one. So coming into the first corner, looking for the 100 metre board, braking just after that. Obviously getting on the power as early as possible because it leads on to a long straight. I can't remember what this straight's called, which is pretty bad of me. Some of the Australians out there will probably have something to say about that in the comments video. Anyway, approaching turn number 2, you're looking for the 100 metre board in this one. There's also this path on the left hand side there. Getting it into the sort of an early apex just to try and catch that camber will help the car around the corner. Coming up here to turn 3, just let off the throttle there, get the sort of gearing down. Again, there's a little bit of camber on the inside of that corner. There's a little bit of camber in quite a lot of the corners at Bathurst just to help the car around. This corner here is not flat out in race trim, maybe in qualifying it will be. And now it's all about just getting the line right here for these fast left-handers, using the full width of the track. Sort of get your sort of braking and your speed reduced before you come over that crest that can throw the car wide, and then we come into the absolutely torturous downhill section. So you have to be very careful with your trail braking and your downshifts here. Keep that back end in check, keep the car nice and balanced, or as balanced as you can. Very, very difficult piece of track to get right. As is this here, coming into Forest Elbow, try to keep as close to the wall on the left hand side as you can. Get on the throttle as early as possible as you've got a long straight to negotiate. The Conrod straight here, we're going to reach 174 miles an hour I think the Dodge Viper gets to before we have to hit the brakes for the chase. Brake balance for this lap is at -1, as I said earlier on in the video. I'd be looking to sort of run at -2 with the Viper in the race. So into the chase we're going to come here, clip the curb on the inside, on the throttle as early as possible. The back end will try and step out there, but if you're brave you should be able to do it without lifting. Into the last corner we come, we're looking for, I think it's the 50 metre, between the 100 and the 50 metre board. Get the car in nicely, on the throttle nice and early, short straight here to take us up to the finish line, and it's a 2:04.0 on the last lap with pretty worn tyres, not too bad at all. Anyway, that is the end of the video. Hopefully this video has been useful to help you prepare for this one. Please hit that like button, please hit that subscribe button if you haven't already. And until the next video, which will hopefully be that 1k subscriber special, thank you very much for watching and goodbye now. Bye bye.